Welcome to College Park. The Terps trying to shake off the after effects of back-to-back 4-win seasons after 3 straight seasons in which they won a bowl game. They'll look to get back to that level of play this season. As we welcome you into our Maryland football preview, Dave Remsen, Howard Griffith, and Jake Butt. And guys, there's a lot of reasons to believe that the Terps can get it going again. Retention probably being the biggest one, Jake. They kept a lot of the star power, a lot of the young star power around here.
That's where I would start. And coming off a disappointing season in the transfer portal world, you wonder if you're going to keep these guys back. But it says a few things. One, that you kept them, and 2, that they wanted to be back to play for Locksley, because then the locker room's invested. I think that biggest jump is between your freshman and sophomore year. You got Malik Washington, the player, clearly talented. Malik Washington, the person, is the reason I would bet he takes that big jump, which will elevate everyone else around him.
And I think when you talk about the commitment from the athletic department to do more for the football program, and all sports is an important part of that, being able to have that retention. But I think it all starts ultimately with the quarterback, and that's why they should be so optimistic about this year, because he is a dynamic quarterback, can throw the football, understands leadership, and a guy that really resonates well with his teammates.
And it's not just him. They have the second most returning production of any team in the country. So throughout this roster, Maryland feels pretty good about what they've got. What's interesting is that Washington played as well as he did last year without a real running game. They struggled to move the football on the ground. Enter Clink Trickett, and I'm excited to see this offense today. Trickett was at Jacksonville State, and man, his team ran the heck out of the ball. And so that bodes really well for Washington to open up the field a bit for him.
Yeah, we talk all the time about being able to take pressure off the quarterback position, and the way to get that done is with the running game. There's going to be a recommitment to running the football. They have to be able to do that, because that also allows them to keep the football and allows their defense to finally get a break and not have to be out on the field as much.
Looking at him, I think the context of his season last year and Malik Washington, the quarterback, he was so special, and even more so special because he carried the weight of not having any complimentary run game. Imagine if you can get that going. But the truth is also on the other side of the ball. They need to stop the run. As much as Malik Washington is a key piece, the lines of scrimmage will be a key piece, especially understanding the narrative of winning in October and November, winning late in the Big Ten where the weather becomes a factor. You have to win at the line of scrimmage.
Got incrementally better on defense last year under Ted Monachino. Part of the issue, unfortunately, is injuries. No Zaire Mathis, who was injured here in camp, but a lot of young players I'm looking forward to seeing today. Zion Ely, first and foremost.
Without a doubt. And again, you talk about the commitment to the program. Maryland is a place where they've always been able to be in on talented 5 stars early in their career. I'm saying their sophomore and junior year. To be able to hold him the entire high school career and continue to have him be committed and commit here and enroll was a big part of it. But you're right, Dave. It's about the run game, being able to stop the run up front.
It was fun to cover some of their games last year because you could see the identity form of they were an opportunistic defense. They thrived on taking the ball away. They were a playmaking defense. That's a big piece of it. But again, to win in the Big Ten, you have to stuff the run. You can see the players want to do that. Remember, Ted Monachino was hired very late last year. Like this, he didn't have a full calendar year to install his defense. Now it's year 2 with the full calendar year. I'd expect a big jump.
Curious to see what that looks like, but as you guys mentioned right off the top, the headliner here is the quarterback, Malik Washington.
Washington keeps it, and he scores! Washington climbs for the first touchdown of the day. Washington wants to throw, breaks it, and it's caught!
Got it to the 45-yard line now. Malik on the run. That's dangerous. The run. Williams down the sideline. DeJuan Williams. He scores. Touchdown, Maryland.
Washington was thrown into the fire last year as one of the most highly recruited QBs in the nation, and he showed signs of greatness in his first taste of college football. Set the Maryland freshman record for passing yards, including a 459-yard outing the last time we saw him at the season finale against Michigan State. Washington and one of his top targets, Dorian Fleming, with Howard.
Guys, thanks a lot for joining me. Before we get to this year, I want to go back to last year a little bit and talk about what each one of you learned, particularly going through the losing streak, about yourself and also about the team.
First about the team, just how tough we are and resilient as a team. It's a tough thing for any team to go through what we went through, losing a bunch of close games in the fourth quarter and not being able to finish the season the way we wanted to finish. But just how resilient we are, how tough we are, and how well bonded we are as a team. Yes, sir.
Well, for me, I'll say how connected we are. It showed how during the season, even when we took those tough losses, we was able to stay connected as a group. And even those tough losses, being able to fight and be able to keep going throughout the season and come back and retain most of those players. So that showed a lot of resilience for sure.
With the new system, with Coach Trickett, he talks about tempo, splits are wider. How has that helped your game, and how has it changed from last year for you?
A whole bunch, really. It's made defenses have to be a lot simpler when they defend us, right? With the wide splits, you kind of have to show your hand. There's not so much disguising you can do. You have to show who's blitzing and who's not, what coverage assignments they need to get to because of how we're using every blade of grass. So it's made the game a little bit easier from my perspective, and I think it helps our offense gel pretty well.
Does that give you an ability with leverage for some of your blocks?
Yes, so for me, it helps me out spacing out the defense, seeing the shell, showing what guys are where, and being able to create and use separation. Just using the space on the field. So it helps me out a lot in my game as well.
What are some of the things you wanted to clean up in your game coming into this year?
Big focus on myself, just perimeter blocking and blocking in the trenches. Those are my biggest things, is showing how dominant I can be as a blocker, not as well as a passer.
Is it a way of doing that in the off season when you're not here at practice? Is it things you can do in the weight room? Is it things you can do in the meeting room to enhance that?
Exactly. For me, I think a big thing for me was my steps, taking good steps, keeping my feet underneath myself, and keeping a good base in my back. So those are just little things I worked on over the off season, just trying to enhance that for sure.
People talked a lot about your leadership, really stepping in, and with all the pressure and expectations that were on you last year, what were some of the things you wanted to work on coming into this year?
From my game perspective, just playing the game from the neck up, really. You watch all the guys in NFL, and as they get older, the bodies aren't where they used to be, but they're so much smarter, so much more cerebral. They're able to play the game for a long time because of their cerebral ability. So just playing the game from the neck up, understanding defenses, coverages, and fronts, and how they fit into one another, and how we can attack that.
How have you worked as a leader?
As a leader, just coming in now, because the role's already been established as a leader on the team, it's kind of easier to connect with people. There's points last year where you're a young guy coming in, you still have to kind of prove yourself before you go out and you coach the guys up how you want to coach the guys up. Of course, the guys last year are really responsive, really respectful of me, but it's a little bit easier this year.
New weapons on the outside. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, it's a bunch of dudes. We got some guys that stayed around. They're going to play a bigger role. Caleb Webb's one of them. He, with what the touches that he had last year, he made plays with them. He's stepping up into a bigger role this year. Got some transfer guys, Naeem from down at ODU, Chris Durr from Wyoming. Just guys that are electric football players. They can make plays. We can score touchdowns from anywhere on the field.
Give me a couple of keys that you think are going to be important for this team to have the success that you want to overall, not just from an offensive perspective.
Overall, I'd say running the ball, being physical, and playing to the echo of the whistle. That's going to be a big thing for us this year, and being able to spread the defense out.
And that gives you that ability with the wide splits, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell me this, from your perspective, right? We've talked about, just the connectivity, which is so much better. Give me your factors that are going to be able to have in place for this team to do what you need.
The finish, really, that's all it's been about this whole offseason. If you look back on last year, our faults were in the finishes. We couldn't finish games, couldn't finish drives, couldn't finish quarters. And, it's a big umbrella term, yes, but it kind of emphasizes everything that we need to do. We need to finish drives. We need to score in the red zone, not just field goals. We need touchdowns. There are big differences in that. We need to, hold our water on defense, right? Get those third down stops. Get off the field so the offense can go out there and score. It all encompasses one another by finishing everything we do.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for your time. Good luck this season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Reasons for optimism here in College Park. We already mentioned how productive Malik Washington was as a freshman, among the top handful of first-year QBs nationally. Not the only top-end talent returning here, a host of all Big Ten players, though that number took a hit with Zaire Mathis's injury, still solidly in the top half of the conference. High-end incoming talent as well, most notably defensive end Zion Ely, a 5-star local prospect who's ranked among the top 5 recruits at any position nationally in this freshman class. And the head coach of the Terps, Mike Locksley, is with us. Coach, a lot to feel good about there roster-wise. Assess where you guys stand in camp so far.
Yeah, it's that third, fourth week of camp. Camp legs have come upon us, but I really like the intensity that we've been able to keep throughout the camp. It's been a new kind of regimen for us as we go into this new sports science of loading up and being at our best and peaking when we need to. So been a little different camp than what we've normally had, but I really like the depth that we've created, especially on the O-line and the D-line, which is evident when you watch us practice in the last few years to see these guys kind of grown up and to see the run game. Been really good to see.
There's a lot to unpack there. Tell me a little bit about the sports science and without revealing any great trade secrets here, what are you doing that's different?
Well, just like, I think as most people, we were a team that would have the two fields going at once, the ones and threes, twos and fours. Well, we're practicing more ones, twos and twos, which now the threes and fours are like the old days where they kind of learn, but they learn by watching, not doing, and it allows us to have a more efficient practice, get more done, less time on the field, less time on their legs. And so the sports science is we're getting the same volume, but we seem to be appropriating it in a more correct manner for us to peak when we need to peak.
Well, that maybe feeds into my next question. I'm just curious, the last couple of years haven't gone as you wanted them to. You had a really good run in the few years before that. As you assess where you are as a program, sports science might be part of this answer, but what did you feel like you needed to do differently?
No, I think the thing that I had to have was, as I said before, a little bit of patience. When you get it going, where we went to the 3 straight bowls, won all 3 NIL hits, and now all of a sudden we've got to create a pathway. And we chose to go the high school route where it's almost like the draft. You build them up through the draft, and I've been a part of rebuilds and builds most of my career, so I enjoy it. But to have that patience to allow the team that you guys got a chance to see today, to see them grow, that's kind of been the fun part for me, because I feel like we're over that hump. A year ago, there were opportunities to where we could have maybe caught lightning in a bottle. Those are losses a year ago, and now they're lessons for a young, experienced team.
You made a change, new offensive coordinator in Clink Trickett. What appealed to you about him?
Clink grew up in the system that has become the Maryland system. He learned it at FAU under Lane and Charlie Weiss Jr., who spent time with me at Bama when we put the system in. And so it's come full circle in that I like the way they ran the ball at Jack State. I know that he grew up in the Dana Holgorsen, Mike Leach football for family. So some of those concepts fit really nicely to what and it starts with what the quarterback can get done. Malik was recruited to play in a system that Clint and I are both very familiar with. A year ago, we didn't play that in that system, but he was able to learn so much on how to play quarterback, and that's, to me, the process we've decided, and Clint adds so much to it. Love the way he runs the ball out of the spread system, which I've had to do during my career in the Big Ten.
It is interesting that you talk about, I think when you name some of the names that you mentioned there, Mike Leach, Dana Holgorsen, people think about the pass game, but his run game was phenomenal, spread people out to run the ball. How much of that are you going to be able to integrate, given the personnel, given the line, where you guys are now in terms of getting a run game that people have to defend a little bit?
Yeah, I think the big piece, and it's always been in the menu of how I did business, the old Ralph Friesen add-on of that quarterback run game, having it as a weapon. And Malik Washington's a big, athletic, strong guy, has the ability to run the ball. He adds another element, which now for guys like DeJuan Williams and Ivory Scott and some of these other players that we have, creating these packages, the run game will naturally come in. We also have, I think, done a tremendous job of building the depth on the O-line in guys that have been in the system for 2-3 years, like a Michael Hershey.
You needed to replace a lot of receiving production. You went into the portal there. How have you seen Malik meld with the new receivers?
Yeah, both Naeem Gladden and, bringing in Chris Durr both added tremendous value. I think Caleb Webb in our system in year 2 has such a comfort level, Malik does. And then when you have, guys like Dorian, Fleming, and those are pieces that where now we can create packages. We can make it look multiple while doing some of the similar things because of the skill set that we've been able to build around Malik.
Malik is so impressive interpersonally. I remember we were here last year and he was playing, right? He sat out briefly in the preseason last year, and you guys were, hey, you need to meet him. You need to spend a little time around him, and could see why. How has he grown in this last year to where he is now?
I think when he came in with the right mindset. As a quarterback, you're a natural in a position that's a natural leadership position. but he felt his way through it. He didn't just insert himself. I'm Malik, I'm the man. He kind of felt his way around, and you saw Octavian Smith Jr. and Jaleel Farouks and some of the veteran players, but he imposed his will with how he worked. Now, when that page turned after the Michigan State game and he came back in January, this is Malik's team. He's put his imprint on it. Foundation, obviously, a spiritual, strong foundation from grandma, mom, dad, really good village around him. But he's now imposed his verbal will, not just how he prepares and how he plays, but imposing how he wants the standards to be adhered to. And to me, I love seeing that maturation from that position. It couldn't have happened at a better time for us.
Your defense took some incremental steps last year under Ted Monachino. What's the next step for that group?
Just the consistency, man. We can get after the quarterback. We created some turnovers. We weren't consistent on second and long down situations. We went back and studied some of the things we need to do, and a year more of guys like Jamari Glasker's down in the system. You bringing that and Amari Jackson to our program as a corner that Coach Azar knows a lot about. Seeing them grow into running the system that fits best with what the personnel allows us to do. We've added some talented pass rushers. The story's been told about losing Zaire Mathis, a big loss for our program, but what we've learned around here, we'll deal with that type of adversity, and the next man up has to be ready. And when you have a D.D. Holmes and a Nasir Taylor, not to leave off the freshman Zion Ely, of any position that we could have afforded to have this, the depth that we created and Ted's been able to create at that position group allows me to still feel pretty good about it.
Last question for you. We dined at an exceptional restaurant last night. Tell me about life in the restaurant business.
Yeah, man, just keep your name off of it. I know that. I dined there too. Grill Marks, man, great place across the street from campus at the hotel, which is our headquarters, as you know, for our training camp. It's a great venue. I love having it because it stops us from having to go all the way downtown D.C. to get a good steak and maybe some bubbles I heard y'all may have had.
Well, yeah, there's some sent over to us. Locks, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and really fun being around the Terps as always.
Thanks for having us.
Monachino brought a significant NFL background to his role as defensive coordinator for the Terps, a position he assumed a season ago, taking over for Brian Williams, who moved on after the 2024 campaign. Definitely made some progress in Monachino's first year, allowed 4 fewer points per game, and created significantly more havoc, upping their takeaways and nearly doubling their sack total. And Ted Monachino is with us now. Coach, how important is that havoc to your defensive identity?
Well, I think it sets everything else up that we do. We're trying to make sure that people have to go the long, hard way as much as we can. And when we can create some of those negative plays, it puts us in some advantages. And we've got enough players that if we give them opportunities, they can find their way to the ball and create some big plays for us. But it's a huge part of what we're trying to get done.
Well, let's focus on one of those players who's creating a lot of excitement here, Zion Ely, so highly recruited. You did this last year where you integrated young players into your defense, and they were really good, really fast. What's the key to getting a player like Zion up to speed?
And I think with all of them, you got to figure out, first of all, what they can do. We're not so much concerned about what they can't do. That's my job. If I ask him to do something that he can't do mentally or physically, then that's really not on the kid. That's on me. So I've got to make sure that we've got a little system of defense that we can play with all of our guys, especially guys that can help us win. And obviously Zion's a very talented player, so we're going to have to figure out ways that we can get him on the field doing what he does best most often.
What you're describing takes time because you need to get to know your players and personnel, and you joined the team late last year, I think right before spring ball. Now you've had a full season, full off season. What's different for you now going into year 2 with the Maryland defense?
Well, what's different for me personally is I have some relationships with some players. Right? Last year it was mostly about this is what we're going to do, this is how we do it. Well, now I get to touch the right buttons on each individual guy. There are certain ways that each guy needs to be communicated with. So I'm making sure now that those that can handle more of the mental gymnastics of it, those are the guys that I give it to. The other ones I try to keep it as simple as possible for. The other thing that's been a huge advantage this year compared to last year is we know the language now. Mm-hmm. So they understand that from a structure and concept standpoint, we're able to to keep some consistent language across the system. So there's been a lot of advantages, but those are probably the two biggest.
One of those guys I know you trust is Daniel Wingate, and with all the talent and youth even, you need a leader at linebacker, and that's what you have in Wingate. How important is he as just a glue guy for the defense as a whole?
Yeah, I think that's a great term, glue guy. I think he's, it's glue guy, or he's one of our guys, right? Those are guys that you have to lean on, and Danny doesn't shy away from that ever. Does Danny make his own set of mistakes? Absolutely. But the way that a leader and a glue guy handles his things, that leading by example throughout the locker room, it affects everybody. And we lean on Danny a lot, and Danny's a guy that can be a mouthpiece whenever we need one, but he's also a guy that does a great job leading by example every single day.
Lines of scrimmage, I know, are an area of focus for you, for your unit and the offense. What have you noticed just from a competition standpoint at the line of scrimmage at this fall camp compared to last year?
Right. Well, this fall camp has been so different than our spring was, because we've got a bunch of new faces in the room. We've got a bunch of guys that are coming off some different things injury-wise that now they're healthy, so we get to see what they are. We've got a deep group in that room. We've got a talented group in that room, and they all have a little different skill sets. So we've got some D tackles that we think can hold up in the run game in the Big Ten. We got some D tackles that we think can win on their own in the pass rush, and then you pair that and couple that with the fact that we believe we've got some starter quality outside guys to put in there with them. I think that we can pour the ball to them when we want to, but we can also track it down when the ball goes outside.
There was an area of concern last year. Run defense was a challenge at times. It's interesting because you guys didn't run the ball offensively all that well last year. I know there's a renewed emphasis on that. How does that help you guys get ready in camp if the run game's better?
No, it certainly ramps up the physicality of practices. When we know we're going to see some direct hard ball runs each day, our guys, we get to coach them in those situations. Where maybe a year ago we got some, but we didn't get them consistently enough throughout the course of camp because we do so many things situational football-wise that it takes some offenses out of some of those things. We are purposefully setting up the practice so we get more of those early downs, so we can get more of the direct runs, more of the hard ball things for our guys. And when you get a chance to coach them doing those things, they get better at it quickly. So we've had more chances to coach them for sure.
Ted Monachino, appreciate your time. Thanks, Coach.
Out of way to work.
Daniel Wingate, one of the leaders of Monachino's defense, triple-digit tackle total last year, tied for 8th in the Big Ten. He was the first Terp to go over 100 tackles in a season since Trey Watson 7 years ago. An honorable mention, all Big Ten pick. As we take a closer look at that Terps D, Wingate obviously one of the leaders for Maryland, but this is a group with a lot of star power on D, Jake.
Yeah, I would start with Wingate because going back to last year when Monachino was hired and we called games, every single week he would talk about the importance of Wingate's leadership because of the talent and the young talent. They need that veteran presence as a linebacker to direct the whole defense, and clearly everyone looks to him. I'd even say Trey Reddick there at linebacker is an athletic freak. I like both those guys off the ball.
Yeah, those guys are going to really be able to help him. You talk about being off ball and being able to cover a lot of these tight ends that they're going to have to cover at times, but also physical enough to be able to stop the run or be a big part of it. I think another area where they've improved is inside. It's been a theme on this trip. Inside defensive tackles are getting huge, and the guys here, again, averaging 300 pounds, and they've got quite a few guys they're going to be able to roll through.
That was the biggest difference, I think, is just the body type, and you can only gain so much at practice because sometimes the D-line won, sometimes the offense won. That's great, but the body type and the number of big bodies in the middle should prove to be beneficial, especially in October and November. So they got some Big Ten bodies.
They do. They've got some Big Ten talent on the ends as well. And again, it's a shame that Zaire Mathis is going to be out for the year because he's a big-time player. But Sidney Stewart, Zion Ely, what did you make of watching those two?
Well, Ely he's a high-end athlete, really. And it's really about him continuing to get better and developing as a player because the raw talent is there. He's going to be able to help this team mostly versus the pass. And that'll happen, but the run stuff will start to come as well.
And what a great place for him to look at what Sidney Stewart did last year. It's my understanding that even though Zahir is going through an injury, he's taking on a mentorship role. What a great opportunity for a young guy in Ely to learn from those guys that had great freshman years last year. Sidney Stewart, though, they call him the bull, and rightfully so. He is a force coming off the edge, and you need a great pass rusher to close out games. That's been a big topic of conversation here. You need someone that's going to close out games off the edge. They got that at Sidney Stewart.
I think a young player also, Carey, on the outside, number 5. I think he's going to really have an opportunity to help them nickel situations and in base defense. He's a long, rangy corner that I think will give them a lot of help.
Did want to ask a little bit about that secondary, and so you kind of got us there, Howard.
Yeah.
What else stood out?
Well, again, I think as we've watched them continue to transform themselves, people talk about the length. The 6'2" guys, long arms, rangy guys that can run. And this is the type of secondary they have, not just at the corners, but at the safety position as well. So they can go into nickel situations and still feel good about playing against the run in those types of situations.
That's where I would start, is just the length. They have, like, Big Ten bodies once again, and they're athletes as well. But what showed up to me, and you get plenty of opportunity getting to go against Malik Washington, is the instincts. It was a real good battle on the outside between the wide receivers. Even though these guys are long and rangy, they were able to trigger on balls at times, and that was a big part of their defensive identity last year. They're going to need it again this year.
Also found it interesting when we were talking to Ted Monachino, and you talk often to a second-year coordinator and they get into scheme and what they can do different X and O-wise. I thought it was interesting that he talked more about, hey, I can communicate with players in the way that they need to be communicated with because I know each guy individually. I know which buttons to push. So you don't always think about that as a way for a defense to improve, but I know that's something they're banking on here in College Park.
A season which saw the Terps struggle to run the ball. Mike Locksley turned to Clint Trickett as his new offensive coordinator, replacing Pep Hamilton, who's reassigned within the program. Trickett is a former college QB at Florida State and West Virginia, but he likes to keep the ball on the ground as well. His Jacksonville State attack was 5th nationally in rushing a season ago. And offensive coordinator Clint Trickett joins us now. Coach, how would you describe your offensive philosophy?
Great question. I'm glad to be here. First off, I'd say multiple spread. Multiple because, it's my job as an offense coordinator to fit to the players that I have. It's not their job to fit to me. So I got to be able to adapt in this new age of college football with transfer portal. So you get a lot of different pieces every year, and you got to be able to adapt. So multiple spread.
Let's talk a little bit about the pieces you've got here, and I think the one that everyone is most focused on externally is Malik Washington. You're a quarterback yourself from your playing days. What stands out to you as you've worked early on here with Malik?
Yeah, Malik's been phenomenal. Obviously, you see the talent when he throws the ball and all that, but what you don't see is what's in between the ears. I mean, he is a special human and processor. He is an elite mind. You can put a lot on him, which they did last year as a true freshman, and then now this year we are doing that as well, also playing fast. And sometimes you worry how much can they handle, and he can handle it more and once more. So obviously the talent's there, but the mental makeup also as well.
Coach, you mentioned playing fast, tempo. Where's the balance between playing fast and tempo with also giving the defense their opportunity to get their rest and not go 3 and out?
For sure. We're not just running plays to run plays. Like you said, everyone harps on getting that first down. You hear that mentality, and we definitely are that as well. You can't just go 3 plays quick and get out. So you definitely have to, look at the eyes from 10,000 feet, like Coach Locksley likes to say. And, so we definitely try to, when you can get that first down, then roll after it and put the foot on the gas.
You talk about having splits. Wider splits is a big part of it. What advantages does that give the quarterback, and also does that give an advantage to the offensive line and tight ends as well?
Yeah, they give us 53 1/3 yards wide of field length, so we're going to try to use that and attack them all 120 we can. So we try to make them use and defend the whole field. We got speed here, and we're going to put them speed in space, and that clears up the box for the offensive line, clears it up for the skilled players in perimeter, and again allows them chances to make people miss.
Yeah, you mentioned the perimeter. Who are some of the guys that have really stood out to you in camp thus far?
There's been a bunch. At the receiver position, very happy with Caleb Webb and Chris Durr, Naeem Abdul Gladding, very happy with him. There's multiple in the receiver room, the tight end room, between Preston and Dorian. We have 2 elite ones there. AJ can give us some depth there also as well. The running back room, there's 3 studs in that room. Juan, number 0, leading us off, but there's a lot of toys to play with. And up front, having an offensive line that gave up the fewest pass sack pressures per pass attempt last year, that's very, as an offensive coordinator, you're very pleasing.
Yeah.
We were highlighting your accomplishments last year at Jacksonville State, and the run game was a huge part of it. They did not run it well here. I know that's not news to you. How do you go about getting them to the area, to the level that they want to be at as a run game?
Yeah, well, again, it's my job to fit to the tools that I have. And again, I've never had a Malik Washington. I've had some great running backs at the places that I've been, so that's why we've ran the ball. So we are going to put an emphasis on it here, but also when you have a stud like him, we're also going to let it fly too. So we may not be as run heavy as we were at Jack State. We may be a little more diverse. We kind of have this mask of mystery right now, and I kind of like that. And we're going to continue to have that, and so we may be this, we may be that. We'll find out on Saturdays.
We will not ask you.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
We will not ask you to take off the mask here. That doesn't really serve your purposes. But Coach, really good to have you in the Big Ten, and thanks a lot for your time.
Appreciate y'all.
Mentioned just how good Trickett's QB Malik Washington was in his debut a season ago. Most prolific Terps first-year QB ever. Threw for 250-plus yards in each of his first 4 career outings. No Big Ten player had ever done that. Can also run it. Just the second Big Ten true freshman in 3 decades to pass for more than 2,500 yards and run for more than 250, joining Adrian Martinez, who pulled it off at Nebraska in 2018. Guys, let's start there with Malik Washington. It's an easy place to start with the quarterback, but I would say in this case it's a very appropriate place to start as well. Man, he is impressive.
Without a doubt. And I go back to last year because I didn't get a chance to see him on campus last year. So this is my first time laying eyes on him. I know what the film said. It confirmed what I saw today. He is a talented young man that's a leader, not just a quarterback. This guy can lead and be the face of your program, and he can make all the throws, and he understands what it takes in this program to get them to the next level.
Whatever it is, that it factor, he has it. And usually guys with the arm talent of him, I mean, he can throw the ball 60, 70 yards. We saw it. Usually quarterbacks want to show that off and the ball becomes uncatchable. But he throws the most feathered, catchable ball with tempo and pacing in a tight spiral, and it just lays right there for his pass catchers. And it seems like his footwork and accuracy have even improved. But that's him as a player. Him as a person is, I think, what is going to elevate this entire team. They all look to him. Even they did it last year when he was 18 years old. Now he's taken that step as a leader, and his confidence has grown. You got to be excited about the season that he's going to have.
So let's talk about some of the weapons around him. They went fairly heavy into the portal at wide receiver. How do you guys feel like they did?
And they needed to because of all the production that they lost last year. I think they did fine. And, yeah, the names are going to be new, but they have the skills. You talk about the battles that were happening today. There were a lot of plays out there where they were going deep. And we haven't necessarily seen a lot of teams pushing the ball as deep as this Maryland team was today. And those receivers are going to get it.
If there's one group I would have no concerns about, it'd be the receivers. I mean, there's a long history here with Locksley as the head coach. But what I liked is just the difference in bodies in that room. You got guys that are 6'7", 6'6". Then you got slot guys. You got, gadget guys. You got guys that can maybe be a running back hybrid. So there's a bunch of options for their new offensive coordinator to play around with. I think the system is the part I'm most excited about. A true RPO system that marries the run game to the pass game and involves the quarterback run. It should look completely different this fall.
Fleming, Preston, big part of that at the tight end position, I think is going to help a lot because they can line up and they'll be physical at the point of attack, but then you can split those guys out, Jake.
Yeah, Fleming's real special, but I called a spring game when Preston was a true freshman. I'm like, who is this guy? And I've been waiting for him to break out. And we saw at practice, this has a chance to be his breakout year.
I went over to the tight end group and was watching them, and I thought to myself, Jake's going to have something to say about these guys. That duo particularly is really good. As we mentioned, the struggle last year was running the ball, and I think part of it was offensive line. Part of it was Malik Washington throws it so well that perhaps felt like, hey, that's our most effective way to try to move it. But you've got to have some sort of a run game, and they just really didn't last year. Offensive line may have been part of that as well. How did you see that group coming together.
Well, they're committed to running the football this year, and that's one of the things the OC has talked about, and that's going to be perfect for them because they need to, if they're going to go tempo, they're going to need to be able to run the ball because it does you no good if you run 3 plays and you've only used 15 seconds off the clock, that kind of thing. So you want to be able to help your defense, and be able to help them is to be able to get in 2 tights and be able to run the ball downhill. That'll be effective for them this year.
That commitment is number one for me because they got a bunch of big boys up front. And that includes the tight ends, and I love their running back room, but it's the commitment because you're not always going to break off 5-yard carries. You might have to commit through it when you're rushing 1, 2, 3 yards because you're communicating to your team, hey, I believe in you guys. We're going to keep knocking on this door. It's almost like an investment. I believe that they can take a step forward, especially with the new rushing scheme, and I believe that will only benefit Malik Washington, the defense, and the team.
And you wonder how much or how big a part will Malik Washington be of the run game. You don't want to put him in harm's way, but he's a talented guy that can get some things, make some things happen.
He is. It certainly came up in conversation here during the course of the day. I really like Trickett too. I just felt like he had a really good way about him when we talked to him, and then you just saw it out on the field. Really good communicator, every rep talking to his quarterbacks and coaching in a really positive way. So I think a lot to feel good about on that offensive side of the ball here for the Terps. In College Park, where the Terps have some star power back on defense. Already mentioned Wingate in his stratospheric tackle total. Jamari Glasser, big-time talent on the back end, tied for the team high with 4 picks last season. Local product Sidney Stewart, a freshman All-American, led the Terps in tackles for loss and sacks. Stewart and Wingate with Jake.
Daniel, Sidney, it's a pleasure to be with you guys. And Daniel, I just want to start with you, man. You're a Maryland kid, a local kid. We've seen you grow up in this program. And I'm wondering, man, in the world of the transfer portal, why was this the right place for you? And why have you decided to stay here and stick it out with Maryland?
This was the right place for me because, I've been here my whole life, my whole career, and just, going to war with my brothers day in and day out, it's a place that I wanted to start my career off and end it the right way. So, just coming back and finishing with my guys is something that I really take pride in.
What does that look like for you this year? What does finishing look like?
Just finishing the details and the little things, finishing the 4th quarter, making Maryland a better place than it was when I got here.
Mm-hmm. And then, Sidney, it was a breakout season. You didn't play your senior year of high school, right? So before last year was your junior year of high school. Did you have any idea what last year was going to be for you ahead of the season?
No. I really didn't. I had no clue. It's kind of walking on eggshells. Hadn't played football in a year, so I was really nervous and stuff. But thankfully, it all worked out.
It didn't look like it. It did. Yeah. You didn't play like it. Yeah. When did it click for you? When did it slow down?
I feel like, I got lucky. I came in early, came in the springtime. And by the time I got to the 3rd or 4th practice, I kind of started to realize I had a chance to be really good and stuff. And I just capitalized on it throughout the season. So.
What's Daniel's leadership mean for you in the defense?
Oh, yeah. It's everything. I call him the war general. I really think he plays like one. He communicates well. He's everything you look for in a linebacker.
And then, Daniel, I look at your tackle numbers, and it's just like an exponential leap year over. I don't know if you can get to 200 tackles this year, but that would be the trend. What's that next step for you individually in your game?
Yeah, the next step for me is, just continuously getting better, being better than I was last year, just coming off an injury, just being able to play the best ability I can.
And then watching you with Zahir last year, Sidney, I was like, man, the future is so bright. I know Zahir is going to be out for the season. You said you're dedicating this year to him, right? Talk about your relationship with Zahir and why you need to dedicate the season to him.
Oh, for sure. Zah, we're not blood brothers, but we might as well be. We're the same religion, play the same position, share a lot of things in common, same humor and stuff. So, yeah, being able to play alongside somebody like that, it means everything. It sucks to miss him this year. We're going to still move on, next man up mentality. But, yeah, I'm dedicating this year to him for sure because, his impact, it can't be left off the field, so I just got to double mine.
And then, Daniel, it's year 2 with Coach Monachino. I felt like you guys did some really nice things last year. Just kind of curious, what's different now, having a full season under your belt, now going into year 2 with Coach?
Yeah, what's different this year is just the details of things, We know the calls, we know how to play them, and he was just, more focused on getting the details of things and why we do things and how we do things, just having the young guys understand the reason why we're doing the things, and it's just going to show that, we're going to understand the defense and we're going to be able to play way more faster.
What are some of those details? Is it gap fits? Is it communication? What are some of the difference makers?
Gap fits, and communication was one of the main things that we tried to emphasize. Just having everybody on the same page, either if we're all wrong or we're all right. Everybody just communicating and being on the same page.
I want to ask both you guys this question. We'll start with you, Sidney. It seems like faith is such a big part of your locker room, your team. I know you sung in the choir growing up, but what does it mean for you to be a part of such a tight-knit, aligned, faith-based locker room?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think, obviously I'm Muslim, like I alluded to earlier, but with us all being Abrahamic religions and just being able to draw and relate through the Bible or through the Quran, I think it's just really cool because, at the end of the day, regardless of who you are, what you believe in, everybody has somebody that they look up to, and, we're all able to point to that and then use that as a guiding star.
I feel it. I mean, it shows up on film, but how about for you, Daniel?
Yeah, definitely. It brings us all closer, just knowing that we're all there for each other. We're all able to be vulnerable with our religions, no matter what it is, It just shows that we're all close together and we have a tight-knit group that will have faith driving us all the way.
Are you going to release an album at some point? We've heard some of the pipes.
Yeah, I got a few features. We got Sid, Malik Washington on it. Yeah, but you got to wait for it.
No 360 deals, none of that yet.
None of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, good deal. All right, Daniel, Sidney, appreciate you guys for the time. Looking forward to watching you guys this fall.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
Wrapping things up from College Park with a glance at the Maryland schedule. We get a look at them in primetime week 1 as they battle Hampton here on the Big Ten Network. Go to UConn, then host former Terp assistant James Franklin and Virginia Tech. Conference opener is UCLA here. Just one playoff team from last year. That's Ohio State in Columbus, second week of October. They also go to USC. They get Illinois and Penn State here. Game against the Nittany Lions is the season finale. Remember, they are 1-14 after September the last 2 years. So let's start there. You need to finish the season better, need to finish games better, too. They were not a good fourth quarter team a year ago. What did you see in practice today that might lead you to believe that will change?
Well, they got the players, and they kept the young core back, and I think that's the big thing here because that's a tough stat. And the Locksley knows it, the staff knows it, the players know it. Losing's never fun, but it can be very valuable in terms of learning and growth. And I watched these young, true freshmen wear their heart on their sleeves. They were disappointed every time that they lost. And instead of running, they said, no, I want to come back and fix it here. To me, they have the talent. Mm-hmm. It's the little details that are going to separate them in those close games.
And that's what they talked about when we talked to the players, the details, the small details that they have to do to get over the hump. And that's an important part of it, and they've learned that. But those are things that have been emphasized through this camp. They have to find a way to finish football games. And that's why I think from a run game standpoint offensively, that's going to help them. It's going to be able to help their defense to be able to stop the run. But they can't have mistakes down the stretch that cost them football games.
And they have this history of starting extremely well. They have the longest non-conference winning streak of any team in the country. They've got some interesting tests. I mean, I don't think going to UConn will be easy, although obviously there's some coaching turnover there. And then Virginia Tech coming here is a game that a lot of people are going to be focusing on. So the schedule is really interesting. What do you need to see from the Terps in those first few games where in recent history they've always won to know that the back end might be better?
Well, for me, it goes back to the things that they've been struggling with. Can you run the football when you want to run it with some consistency? That's going to be a big key for me to see where the team is heading. Yes, we know what they can do in September. That's obvious, but there's still little things that they have to be able to do. You're not making silly penalties and silly mistakes toward the end of the game. You're not beating yourself. That'll be huge.
I think the challenge, the having more challenging opponents to start the season could bode really well for them. You don't always learn a lot when you're blowing teams out, so there being a little bit resistance there. If you come out undefeated entering conference play, that's going to do a ton for this team's confidence. But I agree with everything you said. The players got to look in the mirror and say, hey guys, this one's on us. And Locksley talked about this, that he feels he finally has a player-led locker room, that he can trust those guys. It's going to be on them. But then I'd say it's on the coaching. Situational football is how you win these close games. End of half, coming out of half, end of game, the game planning and execution by the staff. It's all hands on deck, and this could be a fun year for Maryland.
And you can tell Locksley really likes this staff as well. The addition of Clink, Trickett, I think, is going to help them an awful lot. This is a big year, to kind of, hey, can you put it all together and figure out a way to finish up strong, to get back to being a bowl team, what they were a few years ago when it really felt like it was rolling. It's dropped off the last 2 years. We spent the last hour talking a little bit about why, but now it's time for them to get it headed back in the other direction. And it certainly feels like personnel-wise, I think you guys both believe they can do that. So that's